Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Thank you so much for being here with me in this time and space. Something that I wanted to touch on today that I feel is important to express that has been very important in solidifying Brilliant and Mai's connection, even though, again, we've always been connected and we're always one with one another. There has been a time in which, even though Brilliant can hear me, there was a denial in the sense of actually, there was a doubt, right? Because, of course, the opposite of intuition is doubt. So there's always been a doubt as Brilliant has heard my voice, even though, again, we're one and the same, so don't get too caught up in the wordplay there. But Brilliant has always heard my voice, but because we have not necessarily been fully integrated into one another, as it's hard to fit the big vesicle container that I am into a small little tiny body, so to speak, it has been a journey of intuition and then 10 steps back with self-doubt with regards to the messaging that has been received. So one of the big profound things that has helped Brilliant, that has helped me and our connection, and therefore helped for more of an integrated being in the being in front of you, so to speak, right now, is, as funny as it sounds, not answering anybody's questions anymore. And I'll explain. There's this idea, and it gets weirder and weirder as we go down the rabbit hole, as always, yes? But there's this idea that if somebody can ask you the question, then they inherently have the answer. So what the heck am I talking about? What in God's green earth does that mean? So that means that there's no possible way that you could formulate a question without already having the answer. That simply does not exist, because if you could not formulate the answer or the question, if you could not formulate the question without the answer, you wouldn't even be aware that you have a question to begin with. So the question is not necessarily to be asked as much as it is for you to take in and disseminate the meaning, because inherently it's a download, right? A download, an idea that it is part of your higher principality sharing something with you. However, again, because you're not in concert or you're not fully integrated with that higher principality, that aspect of yourself, it comes across as a question, or it comes across as a doubt, or it comes across as, well, perhaps I don't really necessarily know what it is. However, again, in order for me to ask a question, I inherently have to have the answer. Otherwise, there would be no question to ask. You wouldn't even be aware that there's a question to begin with, because you would just keep on going on with your day had you not have the answer. So the idea is that you already have the answer if you have asked the question, which means then that you need to sit with whatever it is that you're asking and have faith in the knowing that you have the answer already. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that there are different potential possibilities that could answer the question, but that does not necessarily mean that you have the wrong answer either. It means that there are various potentialities in which could address the question on which you have. So it is more of a question of, well, what feels right to me? As opposed to, well, maybe I don't have the answer because there's 10 different potentialities that are in front of me. That is the freedom of choice that you are getting overwhelmed by, and therefore thinking that you don't have the answer. However, you definitely have the answer. Otherwise, again, you certainly wouldn't be asking the question. So the idea that then, therefore, you would answer somebody else's question is true insanity. Because again, if they're asking a question, asking you a question, they already have the answer. So then why are you asking a question? It is crazy because they would then need to ask the question themselves, as opposed to them directing the question at you and hoping that you have an answer for them. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but this idea of advice, one of the challenges in therapy, and again, Brilliant has a background in therapy, in social work, in psychology. So one of the challenges that you face is that many people come to you and ask, well, what should I do about this? And it really doesn't matter what answer you have for them, because they will do whatever it is that they want to do with that anyway. Even if you give them the most profound answer, if you tell them the secrets of life, it does not matter, because it didn't come from them, and they already knew the answer to begin with, and they already are going to follow what it is that they think they need to follow. And therefore, again, it is truly, you get more results talking to the wall, because if somebody's asking you a question, they already have the answer, and they're just looking then for validation. They're looking for you to revalidate what it is that they think that they know when they already know it. So you're really just connecting to an illusion, because again, they already have the answer. So therefore, why are we even talking? Words are part of the illusion, or in the very least, they help to add another layer to the illusion. If you are not clear in what it is that you're asking, and not clear in what it is that you are looking for within the answer. But again, if you're already asking a question, then you have the answer, then therefore it is better to remain silent. Not because nobody wants to hear you talk, but because why then are you trying to connect with somebody based off of a falsehood? Because it is like your significant other asking you, how do I look today? Well, you know how you look today. You see yourself in the mirror. So therefore, why are you asking me how you look today? Does it matter what I think you look like today? Did you forget who it is that you are today, and therefore you need a reminder? So it really comes back to validating somebody, and that is not your job to validate somebody. Your job is not to do anything. If you must validate anything, please, for goodness sake, validate yourself. You get the most results that way. But don't go into this rabbit hole of validating the other person, because in validating the other person, you actually get farther away from that person, because then they start depending on you for validation, and then they start losing themselves in you, needing your validation, needing your eyes, needing your understanding of what it is that they think you are in concert of, which negates their own independence and creates a codependence on you to figure everything out for them. So it is important then, or it has been in the very least important for Brilliant to stop answering people's questions. Again, not in the sense of a nastiness, not because, he does not want to connect, but in the sense of, if you have a question, then you already have an answer. So why are we connecting in this way? We could connect in many other ways. We could share the truths of who we are, and that could fill the space. That could fill the place in which we are in, and that could be so much more meaningful, because I understand more of who it is that you are, as opposed to the lens in which you're trying to borrow from me to validate your experience and existence. So again, the importance is for us, or in the very least has been for Brilliant, to stop answering other people's questions and redirect the question, which can be very frustrating for the individual. Again, it is not necessarily your job to redirect anybody into anything. But when you redirect somebody back to themselves, it gives them an opportunity to remind themselves that, oh yes, I don't know why I'm asking you. What do you know? I know me. You don't know me. You have an idea of who it is that I am. You have a construct, but that again is not me. That is an illusion. The only one who really knows me is me. And rightfully so, because you're the only one that gets the preview behind the eyelid, so to speak, right? That is the truth of who it is that you are. The truth of who it is that you are is not out here, in the sights and sounds of this place. The truth of who it is that you are is behind your eyes. It is the separation between the illusion and you, right? You are your own universe. So therefore, the importance of coming back into your own universe, because when you ask a question, you're going into somebody else's universe, and you might not like the answer in somebody else's universe. More times than not, you hate the answer, and that is a generalized question. You, me, all of us. Whenever we ever ask anybody for their advice, unless it's objective, which is pretty hard to come by, because everybody's pretty much out of balance, because we're all on some level connected to one of the 7 universal principalities, and at any given time they may be completely out of balance, then therefore when you go into somebody else's universe, when you ask them the question in which you already have the answer to, you're not going to like their answer because that's not based in your principality, that's not based in your understanding, that's not based in the knowing of who it is that you are, which then again makes you frustrated because that reminds you of who it is that you're not. If I'm trying to have somebody else validate my experience, I'm going to get frustrated, even if it's exactly the verbiage and wording in which I'd want to hear, because it's not coming from me. And you are the most powerful being in the room. You're the most powerful being in the universe, in your universe, right? So therefore, to have any of the other universal principalities guide you on that is true insanity, because their universal principality is specific and individualized to them, and therefore it only makes sense to them. So if it only makes sense to them and you're trying to make sense of the validation in which they gave you, that could turn you crazy, which then turns you more into the hands of the illusion than it does into your own hands, which are very, very capable hands. So we know that that is a lot to take in, but we invite you to chew on that, so to speak, to close your eyes on that and reflect and see if this universal principality's idea and opinion makes sense to you, and if that jives with you, so to speak, if that is in concert with the universal principality that you know yourself to be. And only you, again, know yourself. So please do not forget that, because that is the most important thing to remember. So, as always, we're so grateful for your time and giving us your place, presence, and space, and we wish you well, love, and light upon your journey.